Have you read the book, The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins? He's an atheist, and he says, any evidence that Jesus claimed any kind of divine status is minimal. Is that true? We're going to find out today. Marcus Borg of the Jesus Seminar says the alleged gospel writers, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, described a series of events that never happened a long time ago in the life of a person that never lived a long time ago. What would you say to that? Or here's another one from Marcus. The biblical Jesus is by and large a fabrication. In order to answer those questions, we've got two guests that are some of the world's leading scholars right here. And Darrell Bock, you've seen him on ABC and NBC and CNN and Fox, and every time they have a historical special, it seems like Darrell is one of the folks that was there. And we're glad that he's here. He's written a new book, Dethroning Jesus, with his co-author here, Dr. Daniel B. Wallace, who is one of the top textual critics in the world, and is also one of the great readers and collectors of the New Testament text in terms of the copies of the manuscript that have come down to us, and also a professor at Dallas Theological Seminary. Guys, I am just so glad that you are here. Let's go back for the folks that missed last week, and that is, we're saying you have to have an outline of what happened historically. And we started with the fact you have a real person called Jesus who lived 5 BC to about 30 AD. Some go up to 33 AD, but most of the scholars park it at 30 AD. And they also say, and we get this from non-Christian secular sources and non-Christian religious sources, that Jesus had not only followers, but out of those followers, he picked out 12 guys, 12 apostles. We even have their names in the Gnostic Bibles and so on. The Gnostic Gospels, we have their names mentioned. So the fact is there's an agreement. We've got 12 guys, what their names are, who they were, and then they lived with Jesus for 3 years, watched him as he did things, the miracles, exorcism, raising people from the dead, but they heard his teaching. Jesus dies, rises from the dead. Some people, the scholars, don't want to talk about that area, but they say something happened because 50 days after the time that Jesus is put in the grave, those 12 apostles that were with him for 3 years are standing in Jerusalem, and they're talking to the other people that had seen Jesus, and they preached the message, and 3,000 Jews converted and became Christians. Out of that crowd of 3,000 that converted, they went out across the Roman Empire, and on the basis of what they had heard preached, they founded churches from Rome to Egypt to Turkey, all right? And the thing is that those churches were founded on whatever that original message was. Now, then you get into this time period where you have, you tell me the story. You now have, after the churches are established, the question becomes, what did folks do who were Christians? How do they know what was Orthodox Christian belief and what was not? Because they didn't carry the New Testament to church. It hadn't been written yet. Okay? So how did they know what the scoop was?
Well, what they had is they had doctrinal summaries, the remains of which we see in some of our earliest first century Christian documents. They had the content of the hymns that they sang on a regular basis, which often exalted Jesus Christ and talked about his relationship to the Father. And they had the sacraments, which portrayed in religious ritual, if you will, the new birth, the washing from sin, and the death for sin. So between all these pieces, you have a core theology that we now call orthodoxy that is being passed on through the rites and observances that are taking place in the church to reaffirm the message that Jesus brought and that the apostles preached.